Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get into some education in the state of New Jersey. My guest today is Michelle Sekerka. She is the president of the NJBIA, the New Jersey Business Industrial Association. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
Rutgers undergrad and Temple Law.
Fantastic. So just to go back a little bit in time, when did it all begin for you? Was it automatic that you had to go to college, or did it start freshman year, senior year of high school? When did it all come together for you?
So actually, I'm the first in my family to go to college, and it was when I was very young. For some reason, I wanted to be a lawyer. No lawyers in the family, again, first to even go to post-secondary, and I think my mom said it's because I like to debate and talk a lot. Maybe that's true, who knows? But in any event, so I knew in order to become a lawyer, I had to do what was required to become a lawyer. So I had to go do well in high school, to go to college, to go to law school, to become a lawyer, and I pretty much had that, that glide path set for me.
Great. Now, how did you end up picking Rutgers University?
Yeah, interesting. I was accepted to a small handful of schools. I come from a very blue-collar Hudson County family. I had to pay my whole way for everything, so I didn't have parents who could afford my post-secondary education. And so I had to be really careful about dollars and cents, and that's even when I applied. I had to be really cautious on how many schools I could afford to apply to and things like that. In the end, it was the dollar sign. Rutgers then, I graduated in '86 from Rutgers, and so tuition back then was very affordable and most affordable at a state institution.
Yeah, great. So now you go from Rutgers to Temple University to get your law degree.
Yes.
How does one go from getting your law degree at Temple to where you are today?
Yeah, so interesting path, because as I said, since I was young, I wanted to be a lawyer. Actually, I always wanted to be a judge. And I'm a very goal-oriented, prescriptive person, in that I always feel like I have to look 5 years ahead and say, okay, where am I going to be? And it's kind of like, I call it my crystal ball. And so usually my crystal ball is like pretty clear. And for a long time, it was pretty clear. I was going to, take those steps and eventually, become a judge. But you know what? Life presents some interesting opportunities along the path of life. And something I say to people all the time, especially to young people, is don't get too caught up in what you think is your myopic, focus for your future, because you could leave really, really great opportunities aside. I was very fortunate. I had some really great opportunities presented to me while I was a young attorney, and it caused me to actually leave the legal pathway and venture out into some detours, I would say, off the road of traditional legal practice.
Okay, so graduating from law school, where did you go first?
Yeah, so I did a clerkship my first year. So really, at first, I wasn't interested in doing that because I thought it was going to be like another year of school. I was already to get out there and practice. But wow, what an invaluable experience. And the people who told me to do that were spot on. Because when you do a clerkship, number one, you get to meet the judges. You get to meet all the people in the courthouse, and you meet all the lawyers. And so if you want to do litigation, which is what I wanted to do, I knew what was going on behind the scenes in the courthouse. And so that made it easy then when I recruited to my first law firm to kind of come back to the courthouse because I knew the people.
Oh, I see. And then from there, where did you go?
So I practiced with a small law firm in Trenton. It was Backus, Waldron, and Hill, which today is still called Backus and Hill. I was there for about 5.5 years, and then I did a lateral move to another firm in Hamilton. I was in private practice for about 12.5 years when those first new opportunities started presenting themselves to me.
And how did you get to the NJBIA?
Yeah. So what happened was I truly believe in the value of relationships. And as a young lawyer, I spent a lot of time out in my community cultivating just real relationships. Not everybody needs a lawyer every day. So I got involved with different nonprofit organizations as well as like my local Rotary Club and the Chamber of Commerce. And it was in the Chamber of Commerce that I actually made a lot of business connections that really took me on to leaving private practice and first venturing out to what was my first corporate position, which ultimately led to me running a regional Chamber of Commerce, which then led me to being a part of Governor Christie's team. I was the Deputy Commissioner at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, which then ultimately brought me to NJBIA now 5 years ago.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. So now let's get into the NJBIA.
Yes.
What is it about and how does it work?
Sure. So New Jersey Business and Industry Association, we represent over 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey. So on any given day, that fluctuates from 16 to 18,000 companies across the state of New Jersey. Every size company, from the corner pizzeria and dry cleaner to the largest call center in the state of New Jersey to the biggest utility in the state of New Jersey, and every type of company in between. We are about 108 years old, and we grew up as an advocacy organization. Basically, if you go back to an industrializing Trenton 108 years ago, right where we had our roots, we represented manufacturers. And at that time, manufacturers were looking at new legislation which was going to allow employees to sue employers. And so we stepped up and started an insurance company back at that time called New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Company to create workers' compensation and to advocate on behalf of those manufacturers. So we had a product that we could offer to protect them, and we also advocated to ensure that any laws and policies and regulations would allow those industrial people, to continue to create new jobs in the state of New Jersey. Fast forward 108 years through all those decades, certainly while manufacturing is thriving and alive and well in New Jersey, obviously business and industry has grown through every type of, any type of company you can possibly think of. Yeah. And so today we're very proud of our advocacy on behalf of New Jersey business to ensure that we have a strong business climate within which to grow jobs, and that it is regionally competitive and affordable. Certainly those two last things are very challenging as we sit here in New Jersey today, but that's what we strive for.
Great. Now, to get into what it actually does for students that are in New Jersey graduating from college, what can they do with the NJBIA?
Yeah, so it's one thing for me to say that we exist to create new jobs and keep business strong. But if that's all we did, we wouldn't be doing our job, because we need to ensure that for every job we create, there's a skilled workforce to step into that job. And then we have to make sure we can sustain all of that, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where our efforts on workforce development come into play. We spend a considerable amount of time understanding what the needs of New Jersey companies are, and then taking that information and partnering with academia as well as government to help to build the skills of our next generation workforce.
Okay, so what does the NJBIA do with the colleges in New Jersey?
Yeah, we partner with the colleges. So pretty much every college, including public and private and community college, are a member of NJBIA and partner with us, in particular recently on a task force that we assembled in order to discuss how do we attract and retain our next generation workforce, in particularly the students graduating today from our K-12 district. How do we keep them in the state? Because New Jersey is the #1 out-migration state for our youth.
Wow.
From 18 to 34-year-olds. And within that, there's a large out-migration of our graduating high school seniors. And we need to pay attention to that. That should be a red flag to us. Why are they leaving?
So what are some of the things that the universities are doing, the companies are doing in the state of New Jersey to retain those students to stay in the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, so one of the challenges is we hear all the time from our members that the students coming out aren't prepared with the skills that are needed for today's workforce. That could mean technical skills, or it can mean employability skills. And by employability skills, I mean those soft skills that we know. Mm-hmm. Communication, teamwork, being proactive, self-directed. Mm. We hear oftentimes from our member companies that this generation is lacking those skills. And we say, well, why is that? And is that really true? And then we go to the students, because I visit college campuses and I talk to the students, and I ask them, about that. And I ask them, why are they here? Why they stay here? And what are they looking for in their jobs? And what do they need? And so I try to take the information I get from the students and feed it to the companies. And they take the information from the companies and bring it back, not just to the students, but to the academics who are writing the curriculum. So one important piece of this is that business needs to be at the center of the table of discussion on the future of curriculum in New Jersey. Frankly, anywhere.
Yeah.
Our times are so dynamic. And we know that technology is disrupting every day. And so when you have teachers who are working hard to educate their students, but if they're educating them on an archaic platform, those students might be getting A's, but they're not getting A's in the right thing. And so we need to ensure that business is part of this dynamic of creating that new curriculum so that we can deliver students that are job ready from the day they walk out, whether it be from college, career and technical education, community college, or public-private 4-year.
So do you see any particular things that students should go into that you see a lot of companies actually picking up?
Well, absolutely. I mean, today, one interesting piece, and you asked me at the very beginning of this, did you feel that you had to go to college? Well, I did, because I had a pathway that clearly I couldn't become a lawyer if I didn't go to college and go to law school, et cetera, right? But I have to tell you, I then look at, I have 27-year-old twins, okay? So I think of the pressures we put on their generation, meaning my generation, all my colleagues, on that next generation say, you must go to college or else, right? Well, I believe in lifelong learning, and I absolutely believe that through your life, you should absolutely continue to always better yourself. I mean, I do continuing education today, all the time. But it doesn't have to be this trajectory that we always knew, that it has to be just a direct K-12 and 4-year and graduate, because it's very expensive. And the students today are challenged by that lack of affordability. And so the ability to earn and learn along the way, the role of community college, and then matriculating from community college into public-private, there's so many tremendous opportunities to address the affordability side. But the other piece of this is we have a gap in skilled workers in the state of New Jersey. Tens of thousands of vacant jobs today, as we sit here today, in those middle-level income jobs that deliver the middle, the middle class for the state of New Jersey.
Would you consider those the trade jobs, like plumbing, electricians, things of that sort?
Most of them, yes. And then in addition to that is even more technical jobs. I mean, many of the technical jobs today, as well as the trades, you need a certificate that says, I know how to work that widget, build that widget, fix that widget. And that's an entry point for people to get that certificate, which at the same time they're getting credit, and then they can work and educate and learn along the way as well. So there's different pathways today, more so.
So do you see more computer stuff going on? Is it coding?
Absolutely.
Is it what type of things do you see students getting into in college? Is that some of the stuff?
Yes, coding is huge. And our focus on STEM today, and I always like to say STEAM, don't let the arts fall out, because arts is very, very important. Because who's going to take care of all the STEM people if we don't have people in the arts to help take care of them, right? But for all the STEM that we see, a big part of that is coding, cybersecurity. There is a push down for particularly young girls in coding. You see a lot of initiatives that it's still the traditional when it comes to those technical skills and engineering skills, that there's still an imbalance between men and women coming up in those vocations. And so there's a lot more attention put on that at a lower age now.
So now the type of students going into college, the biggest thing at college is the cost.
Yes.
What do you see with the colleges in the state of New Jersey? Private schools, it's very difficult to keep the costs down at the private schools. Do you see anything going on at the public schools, or is the cost just going to keep on going higher and higher and higher?
No, there's an absolute awareness about the attractability and affordability in the state of New Jersey. On the affordability side, you see more and more schools partnering with community college for that matriculation. Do your first 2 years of community college and then matriculate for your last 2 years. You see community college and four-year together also creating expanded programming that take you through a master's. You see colleges now giving credit for life experience, which is significant. You see a difference in transferability of credits. You know, not everybody's going to be as fortunate as me. I spent my 4 years at Rutgers. A lot of students move between schools now.
Sure.
Well, how many times are you going to take Psych 101? I mean, it's, you know, it's the same, and yet you go from one school to the other. Even students coming from out of state back into New Jersey, really, it's a 101 class. How, you know, I use psych as an example, but algebra 101. How different can those be that you're going to make it difficult, and now a student has to retake that? And one more piece that's really important on the affordability is remedial education. We graduate too many students from 12th grade who need remedial education.
Wow.
Too many. I mean, you'd stagger at the statistics, not just in our community colleges, but in our public-private four-year. So many of our higher ed institutions now are doing summer programs on their dime, where they're bringing the students in so the student is ready for the classroom. Because when you have to take a remedial class, you're paying for the class and you're not getting the credit.
Yeah.
I'm a great example. I was always bad in math. My first year at Rutgers, I had to take, you know, I called it algebra for idiots, but you know, it was an e-credit class. So I had to spend my tuition and my grant money, you know, I mean, my tag or my loan, whatever, my Pell Grant, I had to spend that without getting credit because I didn't pass the placement test. You see that so much now with the students graduating, and yet, Anthony, we're like number 1, 2, or 3 on any given day on our level of how well our K-12 education delivers from a national perspective. The problem is the United States, on the whole, really lags internationally in terms of our standards.
Wow.
And how much kids know academically when they graduate K-12.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when they graduate, are they things that students can do in college to get a job right when they come out? Because the biggest things that students talk about is I don't have the experience that they're looking for at the job level, right? It always says you need 1 year, 2 year experience for a particular job, and then the student comes out and says, well, how do I get that experience if I don't have a job?
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So what can a student do to get that?
As much experiential learning as possible. And what I mean by that is internships, apprenticeships, and there's a big movement on that here in the state of New Jersey right now. The Department of Labor has an apprenticeship program that they are rolling out. They have grant money behind it for employers because companies need to pay for internships. There's something, you know, back in the day it was like, oh, go get the experience. Well, you know what, kids today, they need to be paid, because if you're going to take your summer to do an internship, and if you have to pay for your own education, how are you going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's grants for companies to provide apprenticeships and internships. Students should do their best and the good thing about this too is they get an example of this is really what I want to do. So we are trying to build in partnership with our business partners and our academic partners kind of a one-stop database, which would do some matchmaking on apprenticeship and internship. And it doesn't start in college. I would suggest that students today in high school already start looking for internships and experiential learning.
Wow.
And K-12 is looking at bringing companies in order to provide that.
Now, do students go to the NJBIA website to look for these type of jobs, or
So we
do
haven't
they go
built
through
it
the
yet.
schools?
Yeah, we haven't built it yet at BIA, but we're working with our partners. This is something we're hoping in the next year to be rolling out. So in fact, BIA is working with the President's Council, which is the roundtable for the college presidents, on a branding campaign for the fall, which is all around, again, attracting students to stay in the state of New Jersey. Why do you want to go to higher ed in New Jersey? When I talk to students and I ask, what are you looking for in your post-secondary? They tell me, I want diversity. Okay, like most diverse state in the nation. Check that box. I want to come out of school and get a high-paying job. We're a pretty affluent state. We've got high-paying jobs. Check that box, right? I want to be in a vibrant area where I have access to exciting arts and entertainment, things like that. We're right between New York and Philadelphia. You're a train ride away. And today we have areas like Newark, Camden, Asbury Park. You've got these Long Branch. You have these areas building up now that are, you know, wonderlands for our next generation worker in terms of providing the vibrancy of what they're looking for. So we've got the formula. We just never did a good job of telling our own story. So we're very excited about this branding campaign, and as part of that, we want to create this kind of one-stop database where if you're a student, you can go in and you can say, I'm interested in this type of program, and I'll pop the schools who provide that. If you're a parent, you go in, I want to explore where's the best opportunity for my student because they're not sure what they want to do in this. And then the programs will be there, and then we'll have an experiential learning piece of that we'll continue to grow onto into the future.
So now, is that for both students and the parents? Maybe parents are looking for jobs as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, parents, so anybody looking for a job today, NJBIA.org, we have a career center. And our career, if you looked at our career center today, it's exactly what we want to do with internships and apprenticeships of the future. People can post the opportunities they have. So we have at any given point in time anywhere from 80 to 120 jobs posted at our career center. Everything literally from a front desk receptionist to a doctor and everything in between. It's incredible. Engineers, technical jobs. Folks can also post a resume there. So a job seeker can post their resume, and employers can go on there and hunt through the resumes and see. So we want to replicate that model and do that with experiential learning. The challenge, I talked about that one big database. What we think we're going to need to do is create really by region and probably by county these types of databases at a local level, especially if you're talking K-12. I mean, a kid going to school in Robbinsville is not going to take an internship during school up in Bergen County, right? So you need to be connected with what's in your community.
Right. So will eventually the NJBIA have different websites for different counties? Is that how it would work?
In partnership with
someone.
Exactly. Be it the community. We're thinking today, probably be housed by the community college, but that partnership at the regional level includes, school boards at the local level. It includes the schools themselves at the local. It includes career and technical education as well. The traditional vocational school. They're there. There's a superintendent's roundtable. There is from the League of Municipalities. There's local leagues where you can get the economic development advisory groups engaged in the community college. So as well as the businesses and the students themselves. And when you bring all that around a table, you get something like our post-secondary report, and you get recommendations like I've been talking about and ideas on how we can actually implement these things, not just talk about them. Gotcha.
So now the education value from the NJBIA, are there anything that a student can look at and say, okay, this should be my path that I should take? Is there any kind of like articles or something like that they could read on the njbia.org?
Yeah, I would say, on the Career Center, I'm sure there's some resources there. Right now, and the good news is we're working on building it because these things don't happen quickly. The bad news is we could have used this stuff a decade ago.
Sure.
But I had someone, a media person, reach out last week, and they're studying, public-private partnerships around workforce development. And they said, Michelle, I talk to businesses and they seem like either they're clueless or they say, schools don't want to work with me. And I said, you know what? That has been the case. Yeah. Today, you can't talk to a school or a business. Everybody, it's on everyone's radar, and there's all these great partnerships and things going on out there. Because we sit in the middle of it, we can help knit it together and facilitate it. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now.
Yeah. So now the path that you've been talking about has been community colleges working with the four-year colleges, going to the community colleges, lowering the cost by going to the community colleges, and then going to a four-year college. But then you have those students out there that their focus is, I want to go to the four-year college.
Absolutely.
Is there really any big difference, or both students are actually equal in what they're doing?
100%. We've approached education as a one-size-fits-all for way too long. And we need to recognize that it's all about career pathways. And we're not doing a student justice if we're ramming in them, you got to go to college right now, because too many of them drop out. And when a student drops out of college, it's demeaning to them.
Yeah.
They lose their confidence. Money is spent. They carry the baggage, whether they may be carrying a loan, but they also carry the baggage if it was their parents' money. They say, oh my gosh, I didn't get that done. And now they have to regroup and get themselves back together, and they're probably losing 1 or 2 or 3 years in that process. not every student is ready on that graduation day to make that leap to traditional public-private 4-year.
Right.
And parents have to have that honest, open-minded discussion. Parents also, and as a parent, those twins I talked about, right? Each of them, their pathway is so different. And, we're not doing our children service if we ignore that pathway, saying maybe community college, a couple of years is what they need right now, because they don't know what they want to do, right? And let them explore there. And then, because when they go from there and they matriculate, chances are their grades are going to be even better in those, last 2 years
Sure.
than they might have been if you forced them when they weren't ready to go.
So that brings me to my last question, and we're coming to the end of the show. What advice do you want to give to the parents and the students that are out there listening?
Yeah, so my advice to both is, number one, I believe in lifelong learning, okay? It's significantly important, and post-secondary is a significantly important part of your development as a person. It doesn't have to be on the regular trajectory like many of us thought it had to be. My best advice to students and to parents is look at those alternative pathways where you can earn and learn along the way. If you have any challenge about affordability, look at New Jersey schools. They're fantastic. I know we're a small state, and immediately kids go, I want to get away from home. I went to Rutgers, an hour down the turnpike got me away from home. Look at New Jersey schools. They have a lot to offer, and it's going to help you on affordability too.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, so you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.